Costa Rica really bad, I'm going to ask these three in the studio with me. First of all, Graham, I want you to talk me through goal 6 and goal 7. Yeah. They scored so many goals, we couldn't get it in one pass.
These are two very good goals. This is Williams, he whips his ball in, great cross. Navas comes for it, he has to come for it, but he spills it, and it's a simple tap in. We're sold out. And then the next one was again, simple football, but no real aggression from Morata. Plays a 1-2 with Solar here. Nice ball, look, nice little ball in there, lovely, cute pass. But there's no aggression in the defending. No aggression whatsoever. All too easy, too much space, just too easy.
Had they given up by then? I mean, it wasn't very good at the first place.
Yeah, they have. But I mean, there's a couple of stats here. There was a 96th minute before they put an aggressive challenge in and got a foul. For an aggressive, when I say an aggressive one, where he's maybe thought about leaving a bit on a Spanish player. That was the 96th minute. I would describe their passive, woeful attempt at trying to play football. And for Spain, an absolute dawdle, the perfect game. That they would, if they had a match amongst the squad, as a practice match, it would be more competitive than what we saw tonight from Costa. I could have played in the first half where Busquets played. Today, no one near him. He was getting the ball, being allowed to turn, no one putting a challenge in. It was an easy night's work for Spain.
Gary, I've got to take you back to what you said pre-match once again, because it makes us laugh. You said they were pretty toothless, but there were some really good goals in there.
Yeah, I mean, but I just, picking up on what Graham just said, I can't just measure Spain at all off that. I know they play Germany on Sunday, so we'll look forward to seeing them in that game, but Costa Rica, the first team for 32 years in a World Cup not to have a shot on goal, forget target, not had a shot on goal in the whole game. That's like, that can't happen. And, you know, those players have had multiple World Cups, they've had experiences. They knocked us out of a group, 5 of those players in 2014. They were fantastic. Great energy. There's nothing out there today.
How have they come to this World Cup so underprepared then in that case?
I have no idea what's just happened. Look, we know Spain keep the ball. I said before the game, Spain had the most possession in the last European Championship, 76%. We know that they do that game in, game out, but that is as bad as it gets from Costa Rica, a team who've got a lot of experience and quality in the past 8-10 years.
Any 82% possession, that is the most possession since 1966. That's a lot of the ball, isn't it? How impressed were you? Will you give Spain any credit for that and separate who it was against? Did you see things in that Spain side that make you think, wow?
I mean, I think goal scoring has been a big question mark for Spain. They scored 7 today, but it's against opposition. I mean, we've seen some pretty poor performances. You know, Costa Rica tonight, Iran, Qatar. Costa Rica, I think that's got to be the worst performance so far. Spain are always going to have more possession. I think they do that against the best teams. So I'm not really surprised or overly impressed by that. But the goal scoring, I think, is important for Spain.
We've been watching a Spanish demolition of Costa Rica. It has been an incredible performance from Spain. We've seen a few surprises, haven't we? Jason McAteer, Leanne Sanderson and Christopher Sully. But it just looked so easy for this Spanish side, Jason.
It's 7-0. It's fantastic, isn't it? But the performance, as you mentioned, complements the scoreline. Everything about the performance tonight. Every player was, I mean, the defence didn't have much to do, but all the attacking players, all the flair players were outstanding tonight and marshalled by Busquets in the middle of the field. Costa Rica just couldn't get the ball off them. We knew they were going to dominate possession. And to be fair, scoring early in the 11th minute always settles a team down and just opens the game up. And, you know, they were absolutely fantastic for, 98 minutes tonight?
And, you know, you talk about possession. They had 82% possession, wasn't it?
Yeah.
For pretty much the entire game.
And passes wise, I know I said this at half time, but they had over 1,000 of, during the tournament. And at the end of the day, Spain really put Costa Rica away from the get-go. Gavi, absolutely brilliant. Pedri, brilliant. Busquets orchestrating in there, and they were able to ring in the changes because the scoreline was so high. They're able to rest players even in the opening game. So, you know, that's a good thing. And Morata came on. He probably could have had a hat-trick, to be honest. He had a couple of opportunities and, you know, he got his goal in the end. Initially, He could have also had a couple of, but Ferran Torres, 2 goals, really good performance. Asensio, the list could go on. And people can say, oh, you know, they expected them to beat Costa Rica. But I think this is a really good performance and result.
Well, Gavi is actually now the youngest World Cup goal scorer since Pelé himself in 1958. At 18 years and 110 days old, he is the youngest World Cup goal scorer since Pelé. I mean, he's always been a bit of a rising star, hasn't he? Someone who we talk about and we look at. I mean, Spain started with 2 teenagers in this lineup, and that's something, that's a first, actually, in a World Cup. So they're looking at that youth, aren't they? We talked about teams in transition, Christopher, and it feels that they're sort of finding their balance from that great side of, 2008 to 2012. It feels as though they're finding their feet again. I mean, perhaps this was a one-sided affair, but we are seeing some real talent in this side.
I agree. I think that you got to give credit to Luis Enrique. He's played in the 2 biggest clubs in Spain, Real Madrid and Barcelona, and he has 8 players from Barcelona on the side. Ansu Fati, we didn't even mention Fati. And this is, for me, it's a masterclass, and it's more about a feeling. There's nothing tactical really about this. It's players expressing themselves.
I said it was like a rondo. It was like they were doing 5v2 in training that Costa Rica couldn't get anywhere near them.
For me, it's champagne football. It's where all the players get that feeling, the connection, the combination. It's a great way to start off. They know that when they play against Germany, it won't be the same game. The composition of Germany against them is going to be different pressing, but it's a great way to kind of rehearse your movements.
That's it. When the quality stepped up, later on in the competition as you get deep.
Position of Germany against him is going to be different pressing, but it's a great way to kind of rehearse your movements.
That's it. When the quality stepped up, later on in the competition as you get deeper and deeper, that a lot of teams will play deep and they will ask them questions, and that's where the players like Morata and Olmo, that's where you need them to spark up a bit of magic. Tonight, like I keep mentioning, they scored early, so Costa Rica now have got the choice: do they stay deep for damage limitation, or do they open up and try and get back into the game? Once you open up, the space is there for them to exploit, and they'll keep creating chances, and the goals were flowing tonight. But as you get further and further and meet better quality, it's can you break them teams down? Can you break the Dutch down? Can you break the Germans, the Argentinians, the Uruguayans, the Brazilian teams? Can you break them down? That remains to be seen. But on tonight's performance, and with a performance like that which brings confidence, you're going to have to say
It's interesting because they've not been talked about amongst the favourites. We have a few dark horses, and we have some teams, for example, we saw Denmark yesterday. They were held to a goalless draw against Tunisia, but they are a side who've produced results. They've done very, very well in competitions recently. In Spain, we see a side that are starting to find their momentum in big competitions. They're getting there. They only lost to Italy in the Euros to a penalty shootout as well. I was at that game. I remember watching
them. And they played great in that.
Really, real quality in that game as well. So they are, like as we say, finding their feet. But we talk about the likes of Brazil as being the favourites, potentially Argentina. They had, that awful defeat yesterday, but you don't know. Where do you rank them amongst the other big sides that everyone's looking at?
I'd put them in the top 5, of teams that, in my opinion, just many bright minds in football, ex-players has said, look out for Spain. They can play good football. I think nobody's talking about Uruguay as well, and we're going to get a chance to see them tomorrow. I think they'll be the second best South American team in this competition. But Spain, what we saw tonight, they have nothing to lose because they're playing with young players. And to your point, it was a master stroke to start with Asensio. We saw the difference between Morata, even though he scored 27 and 57, and we saw Asensio, what he brings, the association with those other playmakers, the wings, and then also the midfield players in Pedri, Gavi, and Busquets. So I think that they have variation in their attack.
Well, as long as it goes 0-0, though, say you start getting longer and longer into the game and it stays 0-0, are these players have they got a bit of magic that's Robbie Keane's just walked in. Have they got a Robbie Keane that's going to all of a sudden create something out of nothing?
I think they have. I do. I think Spain.
You do?
I really do. I think not just judging them on tonight. Gavi, Pedri.
No, I'm talking to get that one opportunity.
Asensio. I know he's not an out-and-out number 9, but he's a top player. And I think judging by this tonight, we could say we don't want to judge them on tonight because they've just beaten Costa Rica 7-0. But Iran still scored 2 goals against England.
Correct.
That wasn't as one-sided as everyone expected. So I feel like we got. Would you have changed your mind about them being in the top 5 after now, or is that what you thought before?
I thought that before, just because I follow Spain so closely and looking at those players. But it's one thing to play on paper and then promise, and it's another thing to deliver.
I do worry about them though. I do worry about them. I look at Olmo, I look at Morata, Asensio. I'm looking at them thinking, 10 minutes to go, are they going to find a bit of magic on the edge of the box? I'm not sure.
Okay, well, they are a young side, the players that you mentioned, but it was a 7-0 demolition of Costa Rica. Really difficult night for the South Americans.